I want to talk about how much I love Stephen Sondheim. I love Stephen Sondheim. Thank you. Yeah, I love Stephen Sondheim so much that people worry about me. And tonight I will be proving that like a geometric proof. The first thing, this is Stephen Sondheim, greatest musical theater composer of all time. He's the best. Yes, he's hell yeah. He's also known. He has a lot of different haircuts. If you Google image search Stephen Sondheim, sometimes he looks like this. And every time I would look at this picture, I would get like an ominous look, and it took me years to figure out why. And then one day it hit me. Looks like Anton Chigurh. That is neither here nor there, but I wanted to start with that. So you're probably wondering, like, how do you become obsessed with Stephen Sondheim, right? Gabe, look like a normal-looking kind of guy. How do you get obsessed with Stephen Sondheim? I get obsessed with Stephen Sondheim the same way everybody gets obsessed with Stephen Sondheim, which is that when I was a kid, I was bad at sports. My issue with sports was I didn't know I was bad. I found out in 8th grade when a lot of kids were going to football camp, and my parents sent me to sports journalism camp. That's how you can tell. Because if you're bad at baseball, they can hide you, You play right field, you bat ninth. My parents saw me play, and they were like, we should put Gabe in the booth. Can't get hurt in the booth. Every day the lunch at camp was an Italian hero and ravioli. Yeah, they fed us like we were all getting divorced. And we ate like we were losing custody. We were a sad group of kids. And I have a solo show that I do around New York City, and it's about how I don't have any friends. And don't worry. And see the show. Don't worry about it. And so I had these two groups of friends when I was in high school. I had my straight friends, and I had my musical theater friends. And I was in the middle. You ever see High School Musical? I'm Zac Efron. I'm Zac Efron if he ate carbs. If he ate a slice of pizza every once in a while, this is how he'd come out. And so I had these two groups of friends, and I really don't mean this on the sexual spectrum, certainly, but I do mean this on like the social spectrum of high school in the 2000s. But I always kind of felt like I was like too straight for the gay kids and too gay for the straight kids. I was kind of like Spider-Man the musical. People were just like, who is this for? There's tights involved, but I don't get it, And so I had these two groups of friends, and I always wanted to like bridge the gap between them, because it kind of felt like I could speak each language, they just couldn't talk to each other. And so I would mitigate this, and what I would do is I would invite my bros to come see me in musicals, and they would come under one condition, which is that before the show, they would sit in the parking lot and grill hot dogs. They tailgated the Little Shop of Horrors, is what I'm saying. They were very confused when I switched from musical theater to straight plays. They were just like, well, why was there no singing and dancing in that one? And I had to be like, The Diary of Anne Frank? You can't be tapping, the floors are thin. So I had these two groups of friends, and I really wanted them to like each other. And so what I did is I invited my best friend Nick, when I was in high school, to come see me in a chorus concert. I had a big solo in German, which is unrelated to the Anne Frank joke. And he comes to see me. We pick him up in my mom's Honda Pilot. He sits 10th row on the aisle. It's a High School Music concert, though, so we've all been there, right? Orchestra band, jazz band, choir. It takes forever. After the concert, I run up to Nick. I'm like, Nick, what did you think of the concert and my solo? And he said, never take me to that again. That's the worst thing I've ever seen. And for a long time, I kind of thought like, I wish there was like a sign, that I was like in the right place, that I was doing the right things, that my musical theater thing could be kind of appreciated by everybody. And I got that sign later in college because I got really towards the end of high school, I got really obsessed with Stephen Sondheim. And I would listen to his musicals every day after school, over and over and over again. If you're unfamiliar with his musicals, he wrote Merrily We Roll Along and Sweeney Todd and Into the Woods. Those are just the musicals of his that ran on Broadway this year. Every once in a while, you might be out in the world, and you might meet somebody who's like, what about Andrew Lloyd Webber? Isn't he the best? Do we know these fucking losers? Cats? Cats should be put down. It's the James Corden of musicals. That's why he's in the movie. I don't know what to tell you. And so I became obsessed with the characters of Sondheim, like George in Sunday in the Park with George, Bobby and Company. Those are particularly my favorites. To give you, to use an astrological analogy, I'm sort of like a George sign with a Bobby moon and a Candide rising. And if you understood that, you need more Wellbutrin. Up the dose, because you're not well. So I love Stephen Sondheim a lot, and but at the end of high school, I did something that you can't really do anymore, which is I went into a Broadway blog, and on this Broadway blog on my parents' AOL computer, you know, somebody had posted Stephen Sondheim's address, and so I wrote down the address, and then I wrote Stephen Sondheim a gigantic letter, 2 pages, double-spaced, yellow legal pad, enormous, and I have terrible handwriting. I put the letter in the envelope and I mailed it away, and then I totally forgot about it. And then that fall, I went away to college. I went to Hamilton College, which is a small school in upstate New York. And it's freshman fall. I don't quite know if I belong yet. I'm trying to decide what I should do. Maybe I'll move home. I'll be closer to my family. That'll be better for me. And I come back from the fall break. I'm trying to make this decision. And I go to check my mail in the mail center, and there's nothing in my mailbox. But as I'm leaving, the woman behind the desk stops me. And she goes, "Wait a minute. Are you Gabe Mollica?" And I was just a freshman. I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "I have had something for you for weeks. I need to show you." And what she shows me is a large brown envelope. And if you notice at the top, it says, "Gabe, I have had this forever. Sorry, Tammy, parentheses, mail center." And so I love Tammy at the mail center because I open up this package, and inside is a signed headshot from Stephen Sondheim that says, "To Gabe Mollica with best wishes." And then he signed it. And then inside that is a letter written on a typewriter and hand-signed that says, "Dear Gabe Mollica, thanks for the note and thanks for the compliments." And so I'm holding this package and my hands are shaking. I start to show everybody in the choir. Who else am I going to show? You know, nobody gives a shit, you know, but I'm so excited. This is the coolest day of my life. I'm so excited. I feel so amazing. And that night, a second very peculiar thing happens, which is that I'm about to fall asleep in my twin XL bed when I have the thought that the letter I wrote to him, the return address was my parents' house. But at the end of that letter, in the PS, I wrote, "And I think I'm going to study music next year at Hamilton College." Which means he read this gigantic letter, got all the way to the end, to the PS, saw the phrase Hamilton College, got somebody to look up the address, and mail it there. That's why he didn't have my mailbox number. That's why I almost didn't get it. And in that moment, I just remember thinking to myself, oh no, I think this means I have to stay. Stephen Sondheim thinks I live here. When Stephen Sondheim passed away, I was at a party out on Long Island filled with all married people. It's kind of like a deleted scene from Company, which is really just a joke to see who this next part is for. And I got the push notification that he had passed away, and I knew right away, I was like, I'm going to get emotional. And the reason I knew I was going to get emotional is it's not because we never met. It's not because I wanted another musical from him. The reason I knew I was going to get so emotional, I just couldn't escape this feeling where I was like, oh, no one is ever going to get their first letter from him ever again. And so I leave the party. I creep down to my parents' Hyundai, which I had borrowed to go to this party. I haven't said goodbye, but I slip into the car. I turn my key in the ignition. And as I do, my therapist from college calls me on the phone. You know how much you have to talk about Stephen Sondheim? 12 years ago, therapy for a mental health professional. Call you on the phone. And I knew why he was calling. I picked up, I was like, David, I can't believe he's gone. And so I know I love Stephen Sondheim a lot. because as soon as we hung up the phone, my sister called me. That's my time. Thank you so much. Bye.